Hi friends, my name is Al or Lilstarnerd and welcome to another bonus video. Today we're going to talk about how to start making prints. This is a question that I see floating around the internet all the time. I see it in a lot of other artists' comment sections, and so I thought, I have thoughts on this. I can answer this question. I've never gotten the question, but I can make a video about it. Between deciding to make the video and today when I'm filming, I have gotten randomly, all of a sudden, so many questions on this topic. I've been getting emails, DMs, comments being like, oh, I want to start making prints, but I don't know how. Oh, where do you make your prints? So I guess I really do need to make this video. The thing is, making prints is actually like super simple and super easy, but I remember back in the day when I was starting out, I watched as many videos as I could about the topic because it seems really confusing. If you are just starting out with this process, it does seem super scary and complicated, but I promise it's really not that bad. Just remember that all the advice that I'm giving here is based off of my very limited experience with making prints. I don't do super high-end stuff, so keep that in mind. This is like for beginners, okay? And also, I'm really not tech savvy or smart when it comes to technology, so I'm dumbing this down a little bit, mostly for my own sake. So without further ado, here's how to make art prints for dummies. Before you even start making prints, we're gonna really quickly talk about the 3 major ways of making prints. So first of all, there are print-on-demand services like Redbubble. This is where you have your design that you upload to a website and they deal with everything beyond that point and you get a cut of the profits. So for example, I could upload a design of Party Frog and have that printed on pretty much any product under the sun. People could go online to Redbubble, find that design, and then Redbubble would print it onto whatever product that they buy and send it to them, and then I would get some amount of the money. There's definitely reasons not to use sites like these, especially if you're a smaller or beginner artist. You're probably using things like Redbubble. For example, they do take a really large chunk of profits. I remember I used this way back in the beginning, and I sold enough things that it was shocking that I only made like $2 to $4. They also have pretty strict copyright policies, so despite the fact that anyone could rip off your stuff and like steal it and sell it on there, like they have simultaneously the worst copyright policies and the strictest that I've ever seen. It could mess with your ability to sell things like fan art, but also it could mean that your own designs are at risk. And there is also the fact that it's way less personal. Like at no point do you really interact with the customer or their product. And for some people, that is a negative. And of course, you can't quality check because you're not there in person, so you might upload an image that's super low resolution. Someone might order it as a really large print, and it might end up looking awful, and you would have no idea. So while there are some negatives, these definitely have their place for certain people. These services are really great if you're just starting out and you don't have the resources to do any sort of shop yourself. Whether you have physical limitations, financial limitations, or you just don't have a return address that you feel comfortable giving out to a bunch of strangers, websites like these can be a great option for passive income in the background. Basically, this is an opportunity to sit back and let this website do all the work for you and still make some money from your art. There are also higher end versions of these websites. I don't know much about it, I haven't looked into it, but there are places that work more one-on-one with you, can do things like custom packaging and have like higher quality products. I think Imprint might be like this. I know some like bigger artists who use Imprint, and I trust that they would like use high quality places for their prints, but I don't know for sure. But if all the benefits of print-on-demand services sound really great to you, but you don't want to deal with those risks or those limitations, you might want to look into the higher end versions. Number 2 is literally printing your own prints. I found that this seems to be like the ultimate goal for a lot of artists online. It's like, oh, one day I want to get my own printer and print my own prints, and to me, that sounds like hell. Maybe I just really am dumb, but to me, this sounds more expensive in the short term and the long term, and also it's a whole lot of extra work for yourself that I don't understand why you would want to do that work. It's not the fun part. So obviously, this is not what I do, and so I won't go too far into it. However, it is still a really great option, and for a lot of people, it is fun, and if that's true for you, then I totally recommend looking more into it. A lot of the videos on YouTube that are about making prints are actually people who make their own prints and like print them at home, and they go way into specifics about technology and paper types and all that stuff that you would need to know. So I recommend looking for those videos if this is something that interests you. What I can tell you is that if you want to print your own prints, you're gonna need a high quality scanner, a high quality printer, the proper paper, the proper ink, and you'll be needing to buy a lot of ink and paper. A lot. And there are a lot of pros to printing your own stuff. You get to be fully in charge of your prints without having to outsource, without shipping times, without that cost. Of course, there's costs for other things, but you know. It also means that you're rarely going to be limited because of stock, and you'll never have to guess at the quantities that you need to order. You won't be losing out by buying 50 of an item that never sells, but you also won't be missing out by only ordering 50 of an item that 500 people want. You never have to unlist an item on your shop because you don't have the quantity right now, so you never have to worry about like having an empty shop. And also you'll never have the issue of accidentally ordering like 20 of an item in like the wrong way, like with the wrong size or the wrong cropping or without color correction. So there are definitely great benefits. I can see why it would be really nice and convenient to have your own prints, just that you're printing on demand as needed. But for me personally, I think the cons outweigh the pros. Again, personally, I could not imagine having to constantly deal with the technology issues. My family is cursed with technology. It always breaks on us. Plus, I just don't trust myself to pick the right printer. Not to mention, ink and paper can get really expensive, especially if you want nicer paper to print on. I'd rather just have someone else do that stuff for me. And also, I cannot imagine having to print something every time I get an order. Like that, to me, that does not sound fun. Overall, to me, it just sounds like more work and more money being spent. But I know some people really like having that personal touch and getting to like micromanage every detail of their shop, so that might be for you. Now we're gonna talk about the method I use, outsourcing. I design my prints and I order specific amounts from a printing service, and then I use those to fulfill my orders. Now this can definitely get very expensive pretty quickly, especially if you want larger items in your shop. I usually have to really limit the quantity of both specific items and the amount of items in my shop just to keep the overall amount low enough, which means I sell out of items way faster than I would like, but it also means that I'm never over ordering. I've also noticed that selling out of items and having to temporarily close my shop and having a shop launch or a shop update more frequently brings a lot more attention and hype to my shop, and I tend to sell more during those times than I do otherwise. So for me, it kind of balances out. There are a bunch of great and high quality printing places from all sorts of ranges of sizes and products and paper types, etc. But because this video is for beginners, I do want to stress that 1, high quality products are important, but 2, they don't need to be the best quality when you're starting out. One of the reasons that the idea of making prints can be really confusing and scary is the thought that you're gonna have to spend a lot of money as a new artist or a new selling artist. And we usually don't have the kind of capital to buy a bunch of products that we're not sure will sell. So I just wanna remind you that you don't have to have like top tier quality prints yet. You can start slow. As long as you're pricing accordingly and being honest about quality, you can just order at Walmart, honestly. If you're looking for lower quantities, or you just have something that you want to print really fast, or a few people are interested in buying, you don't need to go out and like make a whole order at some fancy shop. Look into places like CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. They do printing. I know Walmart actually has like really good quality. Like the color is pretty on point. They're great for getting tests because they're super, super cheap. They always have like coupons or deals going on, especially at CVS. Oh my God. So you can spend way less money and still get decent quality stuff. Again, as long as you're pricing those items accordingly. I use iprintfromhome.com, which will be linked down below. I get a lot of questions about where I get my prints from. People seem to really like the quality, and I do too. I really love the quality. I've used them quite a lot since I think high school. Like I said, I really like them. Their website is really, really difficult to use, but once you get the hang of it, it comes really naturally. I also think the pricing is super fair. Shipping is free after a certain amount, I'm pretty sure. And shipping time, it's like a fast turnaround. It's surprising. They have the widest array of sizing options I've ever seen. I think the reason I found them in the first place was because I wanted to make like weird sized prints, like 8x8s and 5x5s. I couldn't find that anywhere, and they were like the only people, like they have crazy options. They also have a lot of different paper types, and they'll send you like a free sample pack of the different papers so you can see what something looks like printed on them and how they feel, so that's awesome. I think they're pretty high quality without having to be super, super expensive, so if you are looking for something higher than like Walmart quality, but without the super expensive cost, I definitely recommend iprintfromhome.com. I do really love their service, so I actually reached out to them for this video, and they're actually very kindly working with me to give you guys a nice little deal. If you do decide to try out iprintfromhome.com, they have a little referred by box where you can type Lilstarnerd, and that will let them know that I referred you. But if you put tweet-Lilstarnerd in the referred by box, you actually get $10 towards your first order. Go try them out. Go get $10 off. Okay, now let's for real get into it. How to make prints. So if you want to make prints from a traditional piece, the first step is obviously scanning that piece. This can either be super complicated or super simple depending on your situation. I have a scanner, so literally all I have to do is hook it up to my computer, scan my piece, and then I'm done. And if it's something super, super big, I try to get as many different scans of it as possible, and then I piece it all together in Photoshop. So for me, like I just do it. But if you don't have a scanner, it can be a lot more complicated. Thankfully, there are a lot of places that have scanners for public use. If you're lucky, you might actually have a place that does professional like art print scanning. They might have like a huge scanner for canvases. If you have a place that does that, I definitely recommend using that because that will be like the best quality. But you can also go to places like CVS, Walgreens, Staples, office supply stores. They always have like a printing department or a scanning department. If you don't have anything like that available, check out your local library. They usually have computers and scanners for use. And if you're at a campus library, they definitely have scanners for you. You want to make sure that the scanner has adjustable settings so that the save file is something like a JPEG, PNG, PDF, something that you can upload into an editing software and work with. You also want to make sure that the DPI setting is as high as possible. I like to go with 600. Remember, you can take away quality, but you can't add quality. You can't add data that isn't already there. So we want to start as high quality as possible. So you want that DPI as high as possible. So theoretically, scanning should be available for everyone. It shouldn't be something that keeps you from making prints. It might be a little inconvenient, but it should be possible. If you can't or really don't want to go in public to scan, another option is taking photos with your phone or a camera, but I really wouldn't recommend this. You should really only do this if you have a high quality camera that can definitely properly capture the image, but even then, it's just really hard. You want to make sure that the image is high quality enough and also large enough. Often like phone images will save as like pretty small, so if you blow them up, it won't look good. Also, taking a photo of something like that at just the right angle so there's no distortion is very, very difficult. Not to mention dealing with proper lighting and not casting any shadows on the piece when you're taking the photo. It's too hard, too hard. So after scanning, the next step is uploading that file into an editing software, cleaning it up and formatting it. I crop and straighten the edges of my piece and make sure to like cut it out so it's nice and straight with the rectangle tool. A few tips for editing / like drawing on top of that file. I generally do this on a layer on top of the art, so I'm not literally drawing on the art, but I don't think it hurts you to draw on the art too. Erase or select and delete any place where white paper is showing. You want the white layer to show rather than the paper because the paper is probably not going to be actually white. There's going to be texture, there's going to be crumbs, there's going to be weird shading. Overall, having the crisp white background layer being your white is just going to look much nicer. You might want to erase sketch lines that are showing through on the print. You might want to add details or highlights that you weren't properly able to achieve with your art supplies. And overall, cleaning it up and fixing any mistakes you might have made, like leaving crumbs somewhere on it, like pencil shaving crumbs, using the wrong color somewhere, having 2 lines in your line art instead of 1, or cleaning up things like stains or smudges on the paper. So we've got our scan. Next step is to put it into our program. Like I said, I use Photoshop. So I want to make this a 5x7 print. So I'm going to make my canvas size in my program that same size. And I'll put it at 500 pixels per inch. I think it's super important to match our canvas size to the print size. What I want to do is make this exactly like the print. I don't want there to be any surprises. I don't want anything left up to chance. So I've got my scan here. I'm gonna drag it in. So obviously it is upside down and not the way we want it to look. So I'm gonna start cropping it, selecting it to get just the image out. So once we've got the image selected, I'm going to start formatting this the way that I want it to be on the print. I like to have white borders around my print, so I'm gonna make sure that I'm formatting that as well. Like I said, I want this file to look just like the way the print itself will look. So you can see that Photoshop actually puts in an automatic like white background layer. There's like, I can unclick it for the transparency. I wanna keep that white layer in. Obviously Logic says that if I save this file like this, with a transparent border and I print it on white paper, it'll still have the white border. But I don't know how these printing services will deal with the files. Maybe it'll just crop out the image and it'll get rid of anything transparent. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know for sure. I would rather make sure that it looks like this exactly the way I want it printed. So I'm going to keep the white layer there and save it with the white layer. Okay, so next step is we're gonna do some basic color correction. I do like really, really basic. Depending on if it's super exposed or underexposed, I'm gonna fix the brightness. I think I'll put it up just a little bit. I generally put up the contrast, and then I'm going to up the saturation. If I were to like edit on top of this, this one is pretty much the way I want it, and also my tablet pen is dead, so I can't show you with a tablet pen, but I would find a brush that has a similar texture to whatever the painting looks like, and then I would draw on top. So if I wanted like better like white speckles around here, like more pure white instead of, the painting, maybe I couldn't get it quite white enough, I would add that on top. As you can see, I'm doing it on a different layer just in case I don't like the edits. I can't erase it on the actual file layer. This looks a little splotchy, so maybe I'll go in and neaten this up and, make it smoother. Things like that overall to enhance the image. And I'm also going to add my signature to the print. And that's pretty much all there is to it for like the actual making of the print. If you are super new to this, you might not know anything about settings and like save settings, so we'll talk about that super basically. In your editing software, there will be a place where you can set pixels per inch or DPI. You want at least 300. I usually go between 400 to 600, depending on how like small or big the print is gonna be. If it's something like 4x6, it probably doesn't need to be as detailed as a 600 DPI, so that might be like 400. There are reasons not to go as high as 600, but those usually have to do with things like the longevity of your printer, so not really a concern for me. As for CMYK and RGB, the printing service you're using will probably have specifications for what they prefer on their website somewhere. If they don't provide that information, the safest bet is RGB. And if you're printing your own stuff, look at what your printer settings are and what that recommends you print with. As for save settings, again, the service that you're going to use is probably going to specify what they prefer to work with. If you're not sure or they don't specify, I recommend like the safe bet of going with JPEG or PNG. You want those save files to be as high quality as possible. From there, I take that save file and I upload it to the service's website. If I want to order different sizes of the same print, I don't do that through the service. I don't upload one file and then get 2 4x6s and 5 5x7s. No, I make different save files for every size of print. So for this print, if I want to get both 5x7s and 8x10s, I'm not going to upload my 5x7 version. I'm going to make another 8x10 version and upload both of those and order them separately. This helps you avoid any weird cropping issues. If it gets blown up or shrunk down, you don't want to deal with any of that. So I upload those separate file types. I pick my paper and I pick my sizing options. For the 8x10 file, I'm going to get like 5 8x10 versions, etc. If it is your first time or your first few times ordering prints, or you're trying something different this time, I recommend getting a few different copies from somewhere like CVS or Walgreens, just so you can test to make sure your formatting is correct and there's no mistakes there before you order the proper versions. Once you do it once or twice, making a print is actually really, really easy. I understand why it's super daunting when you don't know what you're doing or you haven't done it yet. I remember being really scared of the process, but honestly, it's one of the easiest parts of the job. You'll get a hang of it in no time. If all you do is outsource and like scan and then send it out, like it's so easy. I hope you found this video helpful. I know, like I said, I was really nervous my first time. Like I had no idea what to do. So if I could help someone avoid those stressful feelings, I'm happy. If there's anything I missed or anything you're confused about, if you have any questions or advice, leave it down below. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you all go out and make some prints for yourself. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, the whole shebang. Go eat some toast, water your plants, and go do some art.